In 1943, amidst the chaos of World War II in Asia, a bizarre and unsettling event took place deep within the jungles of Burma, now Myanmar. This is the tale of the Phantom Army of Tanna Tuva, a strange legend that defies logic and continues to puzzle historians and locals alike. The story begins with a Japanese unit that was tasked with securing a remote stretch of jungle near the Burmese-Indian border. The area was dense, hostile, and largely uncharted. It was also rumored to be cursed, as villagers told tales of spirits who protected the land. The Japanese officers, hardened by war, dismissed the warnings as mere superstition. One evening, as the soldiers prepared to set up camp, they heard strange, rhythmic chanting coming from the jungle. The sound seemed to be carried by the wind, growing louder and then fading into eerie silence. As night fell, the chanting returned, accompanied by the distant sound of marching. The soldiers assumed it was an enemy force and prepared for battle. However, no attack came. Instead, the sounds continued, relentless, ghostly, and impossible to pinpoint. Over the next few days, things grew stranger. Soldiers reported seeing shadowy figures moving between the trees. Men dressed in tattered, unfamiliar uniforms, yet never fully visible. These figures would appear for brief moments before dissolving into the jungle mist. Ammunition would vanish, supplies would be mysteriously moved, and equipment would malfunction without explanation. The morale of the unit began to deteriorate as fear crept in. It wasn't just the physical challenges of the jungle anymore. It was something more sinister, something inexplicable. One night, the sounds escalated. The chanting grew louder, and the soldiers could distinctly hear orders being shouted in a language none of them recognized. Suddenly, the jungle was alive with activity, branches snapping, leaves rustling, and what sounded like an entire army marching just out of sight. Terrified, the Japanese troops fired blindly into the darkness, but they hit nothing. There were no return shots, just that same eerie chanting, now echoing all around them. When dawn finally broke, the soldiers were left in a state of confusion. Tracks of boots were found in the mud, yet they led nowhere and disappeared abruptly. Some men claimed they saw ghostly figures staring at them through the trees, while others swore they heard laughter, low, mocking, and otherworldly. In the days that followed, the unit's officers began piecing together the fragmented reports. Some of the older soldiers mentioned hearing of a place called Tanna Tuva, a tiny, obscure Soviet republic that had supposedly sent volunteer soldiers to aid the Allies early in the war. The volunteers were said to have vanished without a trace after a failed expedition in the jungle. According to legend, these soldiers had sworn to protect the land from any invaders, and now their restless spirits roamed the forests, guarding it against all who dared enter. The Japanese unit, shaken and demoralized, abandoned their mission and retreated. The jungle they left behind returned to its silent, mysterious state. Locals who later entered the area claimed to hear the same chanting and marching, as if the Phantom Army of Tanna Tuva still patrolled the land, fulfilling their ghostly duty. Historians dismiss the story as wartime myth, possibly exaggerated by terrified soldiers in the grips of jungle fever or fear. But others believe there is more to the tale, a strange intersection of lost history, forgotten soldiers, and the uncanny. Whether real or a blend of fact and folklore, the story of the Phantom Army remains one of the strangest and most unsettling accounts from Asia during World War II.